Hello and welcome. We are talking about, that is some orange light. Red flags you should just not ignore. Welcome. My name is Arica Angelo, and I have orange light on my face. And lo and behold, look how lighting just changes everything, and it makes you look really white. Welcome. This is a really hot topic. Red flags that you should not ignore, toxic relationships that you want to avoid. This is a really, I find, very serious subject. I'm just going to go and get something. There we are. There we are indeed. I wanted to come back a little bit. And there we are. Okay. Yeah, this is something that I think is a very important topic, because when people ignore red flags when they're dating someone, even in a relationship, when they ignore red flags, what happens is someone can get a really bad experience with love, and they can just say, that's it. Love is not for me. I'm not doing this again. I got hurt. I got burned. And so therefore, a person like that will go, relationships are not safe. And so I am not going to do relationship ever again. And it's such a sad thing, because, at the heart of what I do, I believe that everyone deserves to be in a loving relationship if they so desire. I don't think that we're put on this planet to do life alone. And I think it's very painful when we have to do life alone. And so why this topic is so important is because when someone misses those red flags, they start developing false assumptions that love is not for them, that love is not safe, that they're always going to get hurt, that they're always going to get taken advantage of. And story upon story upon story gets built in that person's mind, in their heart. And then they destine themselves to be alone for the rest of their life, all because it could have been turned around had they had just paid attention to the red flags, had they had just noticed the signs, they wouldn't be in the situation that they're in. So if this is you and you've been that person that's ignored signs, I want to encourage you, watch this to the very end, because as always on my channel, I always want to encourage you, inspire you, uplift you, provide you hope. Because if you have that desire, let me just make this very clear. If you have that desire for love, I am of the heart belief that that is because it's there for you. It's inside of you. And if that desire is there, that desire is to be fulfilled. So do not give up. And I want to encourage you and give you some light as to what you can avoid in the future and why you should still hang on to love. If you are new here, my name is Arica Angelo, and I've been giving dating and relationship advice for 14 years now. I've been on YouTube for, 12 years, I think, of those, maybe less, maybe longer. So you are in good, safe hands. I've coached, I don't know if I've gotten to the thousands. I think hundreds is probably a safe number, but I guess coaching people on YouTube, I could say thousands. So if you're new here, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, because I always try to provide you with life-changing information that if you will just take this advice, if you'll apply it, that you can set yourself up for success with love. So let's just understand this. I want to explain to you why we sometimes ignore these red flags, because if we don't understand why we ignore them, then, and if I just say, oh, here are all the red flags, then you may go, that's not me. But it's the why that you ignore them that actually causes you to ignore them. And when you ignore the why, the red flags become irrelevant, because it's the why that gets you into trouble. So why do we ignore red flags? First, I want to thank any of my subscribers who are here. Thank you for being here. It means the world to me. If you're new here, I kindly ask that you consider subscribing. And also, guys, before I really go into this, if you are really struggling with love, with connecting, you're going through a hard time as a single person or in a relationship, please go to my website, aricaangelo.com. I have a special gift for you there. If you go to my website, there is what is called a connection meditation. And not only is it an audio for you to listen to help you to be able to connect better with love, to help remove the blocks of love, but also I created what I call, it's a spinoff from like Joe Dispenza's. I created a mind movie, because sometimes people have a hard time with just listening to a meditation, and sometimes people need to see a visual. So I made a mind movie just for you guys. So make sure that you go and you get that free meditation, and that you watch that mind movie that is part of the connection meditation. It's completely free. Go to my website, Arica Angelo. Arica is with an A, no E.com. So why do we ignore these red flags? Here's the thing. Let's just be really honest. Let's talk about our singles who have been single for a long time. When you've been single for a long time, there is a sense of hopelessness that you can start feeling. I'm never going to find love. Love is not for me. And you watch everyone else in love and you go, man, if only I could have that. And I'm never going to have that. And we start believing all of these very heavy things about us personally and our inability to receive and have love, right? So then when someone comes, and maybe to everyone else, there are red flags, but you don't see them. You don't even care to see those red flags, because you're like, I just want to be loved so bad. So that even if there are red flags, that you just completely pretend and ignore them, or we don't actually always just ignore them. What we do is we compromise. We make excuses for them. Oh, well, they're just doing that because of this, or they're just doing that because of this. And so we start compromising with the red flags. We don't just flat out ignore them. We make compromises with them, even when people are pointing them out, because at the end of the day, your need to be loved is so strong, and dare we say even desperate, that you will compromise with these red flags. Now, let's just make this very clear. There is nothing wrong with really deeply wanting to be loved. Like, that is a beautiful thing. I believe that that is a God-given desire that the majority of us carry. So to say like, yeah, I want to be deeply loved, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you desperate. That doesn't make you inadequate in loving yourself just because you want someone else to love you. Come on. That's like telling a human being like you're inadequate because you need to eat food and breathe air and drink water. That's asinine. No, we're made for love. So if you're like, yeah, I deeply want to be in love, Arica, it's super important to me. Like, I just want to validate that that is okay. Here's a challenge is when the red flags come up and we start compromising with them, this is where it becomes a very slippery slope. I've been saying that a lot. I think I'm just trying to challenge myself now that I have these invisible braces and I have a lisp now with them, that I just try to say very hard words. Not hard words, but words with S's that are hard to say. When we start going down that slope of, I'm going to compromise with that red flag. Yeah, I didn't like the way that they yelled at me, I don't like the way that they continue to yell at me. I'm going to compromise there. I'm just going to say that they're under a lot of pressure at work, and this is what the compromises start sounding like. They're just under a lot of pressure with work, and so I need to be a little bit more understanding. I need to be a little bit more patient. But deep down inside, when they treat you that way, you're like, ouch, that really hurts. Here's the slippery slope, is that you know inside that it's hurting you. And so ignoring the red flags, let's just call it compromising with the red flags, is that this is hurting me, but I don't care because I'm hoping that in the future, this turns around and that this person will love me, that they will give me what I want. So momentarily, I'm going to put up with their BS that I can see, but I'm going to make excuses for it, and I'm going to excuse it because I'm hoping in the future that they see how wonderful I am and how valuable I am, and that they're just going to love me. They're going to quit being a jerk. My love is going to change them, and they're going to stop being a jerk to me. And not only are they going to stop being a jerk because I believe in them so much, but that I'm going to get what I want, which is to be loved. And that's how it starts. It's not that people are just going around going, la, 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 la. I want to ignore red flags because people are martyrs and they want to hurt themselves. It's not that. It's that people want love so bad that they're willing to compromise themselves in the present, hoping for a future gain. And let me encourage you with this, that methodology never works. And why doesn't it ever work? Why can I make such a strong statement like that of it will never work? That's a strong statement. How can I say that so strongly? Because at the end of the day, you are setting up the foundation of love for your future with a deficit. Meaning you are taking love away from yourself by allowing them to treat you poorly, whatever these red flags are, that you're negating your own needs and hoping that you get your needs in the future. Do you see where that's a little bit backwards? I'm going to allow myself to be hurt. I'm going to allow myself to compromise. I'm going to allow myself to lie to myself, which is a form of self-betrayal, which is a lack of self-love, a lack of valuing oneself. I'm not going to value myself in this short time. I'm going to put more value on this person because I hope that they will give me what I want and need in the future. Realizing that emptiness that you're feeling is already starting with you, my dear. It's already starting with you ignoring the fact that maybe you're not being so kind to yourself by lying to yourself, by pretending that these things that they're doing don't bother you. So I really wanted to lay the groundwork of our conversation before we go into the red flags as to why people ignore them. And, sometimes people are in rough situations, like maybe you've come out of a toxic relationship and you're just like, I just want to feel safe. I just want to be loved because this last person just put me through the ringer. And so I just want someone to love me so that I can feel a bit of redemption. And if I can feel some of that redemption, then I can know that I'm of value. Then I can know that I'm of love. And so what happens is, because we're so blindsided by our past, by our former toxic relationship, we almost run blindly into another lover's arm. And sometimes we're just running from one devil to the next, from one toxic situation into the next toxic situation, because we're so blinded by our hurt. We're so blinded by our pain and wanting to get out of that pain, not knowing that there are other solutions to move through that pain, as opposed to running into another person's arms that also have some red flags that we should be super conscious of. So These are the reasons why people ignore red flags. And sometimes it's like, sometimes people are struggling in life. People are struggling financially, and they're struggling in their career. And so they're just like, my life feels so unstable right now that if I could just have a moment of relief in this relationship, if someone could just give me a moment of bliss, if I could just have one window of bliss in my life, then heck, I'll take it. I mean, and I imagine, a lot of people are in this position, especially after, the pandemic that we've gone through, and many people have suffered financially and continue to. It's just like when people have struggle after struggle after struggle in their life, of course, they're going to look for an outlet to go, where can I get some relief? Where can I get some love? Where can I get someone to hold me? Because the world feels empty and I feel alone. And so if someone can just hold me. And so almost in that is a bit of a red flag of you're running out into the world with a sense of desperation, of help, if you don't do this for me, I'll never get this. And that's not really going out to find love for the sake of love. It's going out and saying, I'm in pain and I need someone to help alleviate the pain. And while we can do that for one another, it's not why you want to choose another person. It's like, oh, why did you fall in love with them? Oh, they got me out of my pain. Well, is there anything about them that you love? Well, yeah, they got me out of my pain and I love them for that. Okay, but what about them as a person? You know what? I hope that's making sense to you guys. So these are the reasons why. So if you hear yourself in any of these reasons, at least you don't. I think that when people ignore red flags, I think all of us can fall on the sword of, I was such an idiot. How stupid of me. How naive of me. How desperate of me. Like we can come up with all these harsh things to judge ourselves with. And I've been there. I think a lot of us have been there where we've judged ourselves. It's very easy for you, if you've been in this situation where you've ignored red flags, to judge yourself, to say, this is a live video. Someone just said, is this live or a premiere? I'm sort of reading the chats and trying to talk. I'll get to your chats. I promise you I will. This is a live video. But we can come up with some very harsh words for ourselves when we've been blindsided, when we've ignored red flags. And let me just tell you that while that may be a natural response for you, at some point you will have to park that response and go, okay, yes, it was a mistake. Yes, it sucks. Yes, I'm paying the cost for it now, but I can't keep beating myself up. Because even in staying and beating yourself up over a relationship where there were red flags, even in that, it's setting yourself up for failure because you're in a state of judgment over yourself. You're in a position where you're not loving yourself. You're tearing yourself apart. And it's like, for a person who is toxic, like that's like blood to a shark, toxic people, narcissists, whatever label that we would put on those who choose to not heal and choose to hurt because of their own wounding. A person who has major self-judgment and self-insecurity, oh my God, that's like blood to a shark. And so I will highly encourage you that while you may grieve and go through a season of judging yourself, that you eventually go, okay, and we're done. And that's enough. Like, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes in the past when I would get really sick and then I was like, okay, I'm going to let myself be sick for a minute, for a week, for 3 days. And then it's like, and we're done. And we got to get healthy and we got to move on with life, In that situation, it's going, okay, I cannot continue to beat myself up over this. And it's not like you're just going to turn on the lights and go, oh, I just woke up and I'm not beating myself up today. No, come on, let's get honest. Let's get real. That's where you have to go to a friend and say, listen, I screwed up. I got in this stupid relationship with this person who was abusive, that was toxic, that hurt me emotionally and mentally. And there were all these red flags and I ignored them. And I feel stupid over it. Can you help me forgive myself? Can you walk me through that? Can you help me with some self-compassion? I don't believe that that's something you're just going to completely turn off on your own. It's not going to, you're not going to turn that on a dime. So find someone that is a really wise friend. I think there are also lots of friends that just give very just bad advice. It's like, they've got their own pain and they're seeing it through their lens, or they don't want to see you in pain. So they tell you things that may feel good in the moment, but don't actually give you solutions. Find a wise friend, find a therapist, find a coach like myself, or I've got online programs, or just YouTube, type in YouTube, how do I forgive myself? But go on that journey of forgiving yourself and saying like, hey, this was a mistake, but beating myself up is only setting myself up to go through this again, because toxic people smell judgment. They love people who beat themselves up, because they're like, that's an easy person to manipulate. That's an easy person to control, because they're already controlling themselves by judging themselves. That's a whole deeper topic about how we try to gain control over ourselves by actually hurting ourselves. That's a whole different topic that I won't go down right now, because it's just not where we're going with this video. So what are the red flags? Now that you know why, and now that we know that judging ourselves over making those decisions may be a process that we go through. It's not where we want to stay parked. It's not where we want to set up house and live there, okay? So Antonio says, hi, how are you? I'm really good here in the south of France. Next week, you guys have a big trip coming up. I'm so excited. I'll tell you more about that. If you follow my Instagram, the Arica Angelo, you'll be seeing me post videos about it. It's very exciting. Ninja Wolf says, hey, Arica, how are you, Cinnamon Bun? I'm good, darling. Nice mink jacket. It's actually just a throw over. Thank you, though. William says, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you guys. It's actually early evening for me. It's almost 6 o'clock here in France. Nathan says, good morning to everyone. Ninja Wolf says, and don't forget, cheated on your spouse or is having an affair with these nobodies who are disrespecting their history of their marriage. You tell them. William says, I decided to just go alone, and my oldest kid was upset. Everyone believes that love is enough, but diligent discernment is essential to avoid being used. Hell yes. And at the end of the day, when we say love isn't enough, most of the time in those situations, it's just not love. I mean, I hate to just be black and white about it, but in most situations, it's not pure love. There may be an element of love, but at the end of the day, like when we really love someone, we don't want to abuse them. And I do believe, I'm a huge believer in discernment, and diligent discernment is very important, just in life, period. Kim Tay says, I have an ex who I thought was a good boy, but turns out he's a manipulator. I'm so sorry that you went through that, Kim. It's just hurtful. It just hurts to be betrayed. I think Jordan Peterson said that is one of the most difficult of human experiences, is being betrayed. And it's like one of those things that we just can't get past. So I'm curious, Kim, would you be willing to share? Do you feel like there were some red flags that you didn't see? Ninja Wolf says sexual abuse is another thing that can cause a red flag. Yes. Arctic's boss, please make a video about dating for neurodivergent people. For example, I am within Asperger's spectrum, so there are things that I tend to miss, such as nonverbal cues. I think that is a great idea. That has been requested of me a lot. I almost feel like I want to bring another expert in on that. I don't know if I'm very qualified to completely navigate through that. I have some ideas, but I think that's something that I need to probably bring another expert on. Alex says, good morning, Arica. How are you? I'm good, darling. Hi, Tom. Hello, Sir Wit. Alan says, all true. If one doesn't try, if one doesn't try, one never gets a connection. It's knowing what a good connection is. No flags. It's so good. William says, I noticed that if you have standards and don't tolerate disrespect, you are shamed. I'm completely comfortable alone if my standards are not met. William, I think that having high standards is very important. And I think that sometimes those standards are what help us navigate through who's for us and who's not. If someone, now here's the thing, this is always a slippery slope to say, if someone doesn't respect your standards, because there's also things that we call standards, which are also masked behind self-protection, that are also masked behind entitlement. But I'm just talking about general standards of like, it's pretty obvious you don't, cuss me out or berate me or, ignore me, ignore my messages. Like, I think that there are some basic things that are some standards that we definitely need to have. And if someone doesn't meet those, I always see that as the quickest way to get to a yes is by saying no and saying it very strongly and being comfortable with saying no. Because when you get comfortable saying no, it pushes the wrong people out. It pushes these people who have red flags written all over them. It pushes them out of the way so that the people who are in a position to love you and be loved by you are more, there's a streamline for them to actually get to you. But if your pipeline is congested with a bunch of maybes and could be's and what ifs, because you don't have a strong no, then you set yourself up on a path of being constantly disappointed, when really the best thing that you could do to make yourself proud of yourself and also getting quicker to the person that you want to be with is just by saying no and moving those maybes out the door. This is a good one. Ripped Up says, one red flag for me is if she says, I hate men. Yes, I think that anyone, a lot of people have been hurt, whether men or women, both. And so when you hear them saying like, all men do this, all women do this, like this is a person who has been seriously grieved and they need to grieve. Someone has done them wrong, they've hurt them, and there's still pain there. There's still pain in their body and they're verbally expressing it. That's a sign for you that they have a journey to go on and that you are not to be the tour director of that journey, and that they need to figure that out on their own. But if they're on the first date saying, I don't like this person, I don't like that person, that is a hurt person who needs to spend some time with their hurt, and you don't need to be responsible for that hurt. Boss Big Mike says, hey, well, hello. Ninja Wolf says, Arica, how do I get someone to taught me to be in a healthy relationship? That's kind of a relationship I want to be, which is the opposite. How do I get someone taught me into being in a healthy relationship? Well, hopefully that's what I'm doing here on my channel. Sir Wit says, this goes to your last podcast about damaged people and they stay damaged. I don't know if I said it that way. I wouldn't say it that way. I think broken people, people who've been through situations that have broken them, that it's always an opportunity to be healed. I don't think that anyone's ever just completely damaged. I think the only time that a person is completely damaged is when they say, I'm completely damaged and I'm done. And they don't want to participate with life at all. It's like, they're just like, I'm just waiting to die. I mean, that's a person that is the path that they are choosing in that moment. And that's what they want. But I think that there's always redemption for people if they so have the courage to pursue that redemption. Kim Tay says, I think some people like my friends accept red flags because they are pressured by people around them that they should have a boyfriend or girlfriend in their age. Ooh, that is really good. I agree with Kim. I think a lot of times we get pressured by society, where we say, I need to be in a relationship by this time. I remember being in Los Angeles, and I think I was in my Was I in Los Angeles? Yeah, I was in Los Angeles. It was around my 30s. And I was like, oh my God, I have to get married. I have to have children and this and that. And I was like, but inside of me, I didn't want that. Didn't want to get married. I was still trying to figure out my own life. I didn't want children. And it's like we buy into these societal expectations, the peer pressure, family pressure of what we should have. And yeah, we get into relationships that we don't want to be in. And then we start talking ourselves into those relationships that we have no business being in. And so, really, we sell ourselves short to make other people happy. And it's like, once again, that's not loving yourself. That's prioritizing other people. How on earth would you think that by prioritizing other people over your own heart is going to work out in helping you find and keep love? It just doesn't. You can't take away from yourself and hope that it works out for you in the end. It's just the opposite. It's valuing yourself, prioritizing your heart, listening to your heart, holding true to the standards that are in your heart that says, when your heart says, I want this, and this is what I want, and this is what makes me feel safe, and this is what makes me feel joyful, and this is what makes me feel alive, and this is the kind of person that I can see partnering with my vision for life. That's what my heart wants. It's not until you partner it from that standpoint that you can actually allow love to come in. But when we put ourselves on the back burner to make other people happy, what we are essentially saying is, I am not valuable. And if you're saying I'm not valuable, what are you saying? I am not lovable. My love is contingent on other people's approval of me. And that's just frankly not true. It might feel that way. You may have been conditioned to believe things that way, but it is not the truth. The truth is that by you loving yourself, by you paying attention to what is in your heart, journaling it out, going on a journey, dating people and going, what works for me? What doesn't work for me? What do I want for my future? What kind of person works for that for me and my future? Really getting clear on that. And then when something comes in and it doesn't fall in alignment with that you go, okay, I'm comfortable with letting that go because I value me. I value my heart. My heart matters. That's something. I have an emotional warrior program, and it's like the heart of the message, which is your heart matters, which is something that I didn't come up with. I got from one of my favorite authors named John Eldridge in his book, Waking the Dead, which is your heart matters. And so it's like, to find love, to position yourself to stay out of these toxic situations that have red flags written all over it, is you prioritizing what is inside of your heart. And when we get to the heart, we can bypass the ego. We can bypass societal expectations. We can bypass all the BS and get to what really makes us tick, what really matters to us the most. Mr. Cranky says, thank you for what you did for me. Oh, I love this. I want to go back. It just jumped. Mr. Crank, thank you for what you did for me. Following your advice, just love you for it. Wow, I love that. Thank you. That really just, I love when people come back and tell me when my advice has changed their life. So I just screenshotted that. So thank you so much for taking the time to share that with me. Juan says, good advice. Juan Rodriguez, I have missed you, my darling. It's good to see your name here. Jaroslav says, red flags. Ripped Up says, this is a very important topic. I completely agree. Hey, Erica, hope you're having a good day. You too, darling. Fernando says, hi, Erica. It's been a while seeing you live. How's France? France is nice. It's getting warm, and I'm loving it. Cayman says, I have a hard time to find love since I've been around toxic people. I would really encourage you, my darling, to start this video once the live is finished, to watch it from the beginning, because it's really going to support you. I spend a whole good 10 minutes explaining why we go to this and how we can start changing that. So let's talk about, Ladal says, you better preach. That's what I'm talking about. Jim says alignment. What pulls me out of alignment as well is why I'm in alignment with myself and with others. And then, Jim Jones. I agree with you. Heart and brain coherence. Yes, that's some Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff right there. Love it. Oh, good to hear that from you, Juan. Derwin says, hi, Eric. It seems like every time I try to have a meaningful relationship with a woman, they happen to leave me out of nowhere. What can that possibly be the cause of that? That is a really good question. Without knowing your story, I would say that there might be an issue with you. This is very general, so please take this with a grain of salt as I don't know you. I'm just telling you what I kind of feel with you. And what happens a lot when people just get rid of something that they don't value is really what it boils down to. If I have a Mercedes sitting out of my car, sitting outside of my home, I'm not just going to walk that with the doors open and with the keys in the driver's seat. I'm not going to do that. Now, may I, if I'm going for a workout and I may have like a wristband that holds sweat out of my hair, may I accidentally just kind of leave that out on the road because I got distracted because someone offered me water? Maybe. Why? The value is different. And so I would say that if you keep getting a same experience with people just leaving you, that means that they're not valuing you. And so if there's a consistent theme of people not valuing you, I would ask you, is there an aspect of, is there a big aspect of you, not just a small aspect of you, where you don't value yourself? And do you compromise a lot to make it work with these people? And when you're compromising, you're actually not getting what you want from these people. I'm very curious if that resonates with you. So Ripped Up says, have you heard of a form of meditation known as releasing? Does it help with healing a broken heart? Yes, it does help. Please, I highly encourage you guys to go and get that meditation of mine, because I think that releasing is a very big part of healing, but then you have to fill yourself up. You can't just releasing. It's like this. Oh, I don't want to, that's a horrible analogy. I'm not going to say it. We can't just release and not fill ourselves back up. You get what I'm saying? You have to have both. So while I am a big believer in releasing meditations, you also have to fill yourself back up by going out in nature, loving on yourself, valuing yourself. What are the things that make you feel valuable? Is it taking a hot bath? Is it going for a hike? Is it spending time with family? Is it listening to certain music? It's like doing the things that are going to bring you fullness back into your life. And then it can get even more complex than that, which is something my somatic therapist just keeps sharing with me about, which is regulating. When you've gone through something traumatic like a breakup or toxic relationships or a broken heart, it jacks with the nervous system. And so you go into fight, you go into flight, you go into freeze, you go into fawn. And sometimes we just have to regulate our nervous system by just doing a lot of resting. And resting could be meditating, it could be taking naps, it could be reading a book, could be just being creative. But sometimes our nervous systems, when we've gone through something heavy like a broken heart, we just need a reset for the nervous system. And we do that through rest. So I would really encourage you, yes, do the releasing meditations. Yes, do the things to fill yourself back up, but also let your heart rest in that as well. So what are some of the red flags now that we are 40 minutes into this? But this is a really good topic. Like this could save, these 40 minutes could actually save your life, because how many people ignore red flags and 5 years of their life go out the window, 10 years of their life go out the window just because they didn't have the right information. So consider yourselves fortunate that you are getting this information right now. So red flags, they are highly impatient with you, super impatient with you. They're very selfish. It's all about them. It's not about you. They are just not there for you. You find yourself giving and giving and giving to them, and they are not giving back to you. And guys, women, men, this is not just time. This is time, resources, emotionally. If they've had a hard day and you're always there for them emotionally, but when you have a hard day and they're not there, honey, they are just showing you right now how they're going to treat you. That's clearly what they're going to. Here's the other thing. It's like, this is where what I love about so many coaches popping up. I mean, back when I got started 14 years ago, when I would tell people, "Oh, I give dating relationship advice," and on YouTube, they'd be like, "What?" And now it's like becoming so common. And what I love about that it's becoming so common is with so many people talking about these things is we're coming up with all these wonderful terms to help us understand things. Brene Brown says that when we're able to name emotions, and I would go as far to say when we're even able to name experiences, it helps us to not only understand it, but to also heal and navigate through it. So if a person, with one of those terms being, if a person starts love bombing you, if the person is just like immediately going, "You're so wonderful, you're so smart, you're so great, I think you're the best thing," and it's like they've known you for 1 week, they don't know you to be saying those things. If a person is super, I think that this is a big red flag that we don't talk about. If someone's super shut down emotionally, that is not a good recipe for a relationship. If they're very guarded, if they've been very hurt in relationship and they're very shut down, listen, that is going to be your project, not your lover. Like, that is not a person that you get into a loving relationship with. Another red flag is that they have just no self awareness whatsoever of themselves. If they don't have self awareness of themselves, they're not going to have self awareness with you. Here's the other thing. If they're coming to you with a deficit, if they're coming to you with a deficit of financially, emotionally, mentally, and there's a huge deficit there, and that you are saving their ass and you're being their provider emotionally, financially, any of those things, like that's a red flag. That's a flag that you guys are setting up a toxic, codependent relationship. And so it's like these sort of things that we're not always mindful of. Really, though, always asking yourself, is this person giving back to me? I think, especially for those of us who are empaths, I think empaths can give a lot in relationships, emotionally, time, energy. And you always have to, not that we give to get, but in relationships, it has to be that way. Love, I always say, someone made fun of me because they said it's from a line from a movie, which I hadn't seen, but I always say love is like a circle. Like half of it is giving and the other half is receiving. And to make love work, you need both. And so if you're always giving to the person, but you're not receiving as much from them, that's a red flag. That's a huge red flag. That's letting you know, like, what the future of your relationship is going to be like. Here's another thing, and I think that this one's a little bit hard, but when they're not emotionally responsible for themselves. And listen, if you find if any of these things I've said and you're like, that's me, or I've been there, there's no shame in your game. I remember being that person where I like didn't know how to navigate things for myself emotionally. And so I would find partners and I'd be like, in an emotional mess and hoping that they'd clean up in aisle 5, emotional cleanup in aisle 5. Like, we all grow, we go through experiences, but at some point it's they have to be emotionally responsible for themselves. They have to. And what that looks like is, let's say that they have a hard day, they're feeling, a bit spastic, they're feeling nervous, they're feeling anxious, they're feeling frustrated, that they just don't call you and go, "You'll never believe what happened, and this is such BS," and they're screaming and screaming and screaming. And then you're on the other side going, "It's okay, breathe, you're going to be okay." And then that's the end of it. No, you want someone who goes, "Oh, this is such a crap day. I'm so pissed off." And then you say to them, "I'm so sorry." And they say, "You know what? I really appreciate you. That's really kind of you." Yeah, I just need to go for a walk and I need to breathe this out. Like they become responsible for themselves. But if someone's not responsible for themselves emotionally, it's a red flag because if they can't give it to themselves, chances are they can't give it to you. And here's a big red flag. People, I'm a big believer, like, watch how people talk to the waiter. I think that's really important. Watch how they treat their family. I think that's very important. One thing we don't talk about is watch how they treat themselves. Do they talk crappy to themselves? Do they not take themselves to the gym? Do they not like give themselves compassion when they're going through a hard time? Like, just watch how they treat themselves because chances are, it's like back to what I always say. One of my mentors when I was in my early 20s, a woman named Sheila, and it was so beautiful. I got to run into her this past summer in Texas. I got to see her and hug her and tell her how much she's changed my life and how I share her work even in my work today. But she used to always say to me, Arica, you can't give out what you don't have, in a very strong Southern Texas accent. And it's true. If you watch someone, watch how they treat themselves. And if they overextend themselves or they're very harsh and judgmental on themselves, I promise you that is going to overflow on you. What they are pouring into themselves, just see them as a pipeline. Whatever they're pouring into themselves, you're at the end of that pipe. You're going to get whatever they're pouring in. So if they're not valuing themselves, if they overextend themselves, they put everyone else above themselves, they're not going to take good care of you. If they don't have boundaries with other people, that's going to come out on you. Like, really watch how they take care of themselves. And some people can be perceived as taking care of themselves because they go to the gym and they do this. But watch when things don't go their way. Do they just get really belligerent with themselves? Chances are that's going to come out on you. And so it's like these sort of things that we want to be mindful of. Are they a person of their word? That's a really big one. Is trust in a relationship is super important. If they start lying in the beginning of the relationship, run. That's a red flag because trust is the foundation of relationship. And if they can't be truthful with you, listen, it's only going to grow because they're just getting to know you. They're not even comfortable with you yet, but yet they're comfortable with lying to you. Guess what? The more comfortable they get, the more they're going to lie to you. And it's like I heard someone recently say, and it sounds harsh, but I think it's true. They said people who lie are just weak people. And I said, you know what? In my experience, I have to say that yes, people who lie, I have found to be very weak people. And so, and weak doesn't just mean on the outside, they can pay the bills and they have a career. I've seen a lot of successful people be really weak emotionally. And so it's like they have to have that ability to be honest because if they can't, it's just going to tear the relationship up in the end. Let's see. Jim says, amen to the empath. That is true. Jim Jones says, be intentional to make you lift greater than the pull. Yes. Darwin, thank you for responding. He says, I have been known to compromise a lot and trying to make sure I'm doing everything right and not trying to sabotage a relationship. Derwin, I would encourage you with this. I wouldn't be so concerned about sabotaging the relationship. I would be more concerned about you sabotaging yourself and your own desires. Because what I gather from you, and I'm not saying I'm right, but just the vibe, the feeling, the intuition that I feel about you is that you give way too much and that you don't prioritize yourself enough, and so people take advantage of that. But and we can get mad at people and we can say, oh, they're taking advantage of me, but you have to be accountable for yourself, my darling, and say, but why am I not valuing myself and why am I not prioritizing my needs. And why do I think that my needs are always on the back burner and everyone else should be before me? And I know people say, well, I'm just a big giver. I think that's a bunch of BS. I don't think you're a giver. I'm not saying you, Derwin, but I'm saying people who say that I'm just a big giver and people take advantage of me. And I go, no, I think you're really good at manipulating people. And I think you're really good at not rocking the boat so that you hope that you get loved and you get appreciated in the end. And so you lie to yourself and you lie to them because you're not doing what you really want to do. And you're not saying what you really want to say. And you're not being who you really want to be. So therefore, you're manipulating to make life safe for you. And that's not nice. It's not nice to you and it's not nice to the other people because they're not getting the real deal. And I know that sounds hard, but boy, that's true. Kim Tay says, take attention how they manage their anger before settling. Yes, yes, yes. And here's the thing, like, just because someone has issues, I don't want to say like this person has to be a saint. Because listen, if we all get in front of a mirror, God knows none of us are saints, right? And we're all going to have our challenges. You have your challenges. I have my challenges. We all have our challenges. So I'm not saying that they have to be a saint, but there does have to be accountability. There has to be accountability and there has to be a solution for what they're working through. But just to emotionally vomit all over you and go, ah, and not go, whoa, okay, time out. That really wasn't okay. Wasn't okay with how I spoke to you. I'm really sorry that I hurt you that way. And so what I'm going to do is really get my temper in check and see where that's coming from. That did not need to happen. And this is not going to happen again. Please excuse me. 11th hour sound. Is that Vincent? Who I have a good friend who has a company with this name, and I haven't spoken with you in ages. I hope that's you. William says, excellent. An opportunistic person will take advantage of a good person. The responsibility is on us to not create the opportunity. Mic drop. Liddell says, damn, what you said to Derwin hit my soul. That message was definitely for me. Yes, babe. You were here for a perfect time to hear this perfect message. Yes. Go out. And I always tell people, like, it's the little things when we talk about valuing ourselves, like, and most of the time, let's just get very honest here. When we ignore red flags, most of the time we're just not valuing ourselves. As simple as that sounds, most of the time we're not valuing ourselves. And people, well, how do I value myself? One, being true, letting your yes be yes and your no be no. It's even in the simple things. I tell people, like, it's as simple as, like, if you're with friends and they say, hey, I want to go out and grab a coffee bean, and you hate coffee bean and you want Starbucks. Like, actually, in my world, it would be the exact opposite. But, and then you go, yeah, sure, it's fine. Right there, you've just manipulated yourself. You've just played yourself out by not using your voice. You're not saying things have to be my way, but you go, oh my gosh, I really don't like that place. I really prefer this. Tell you what, this time we'll go there, but the next time we got to go to my place because I can't keep having that kind of coffee. You see how that's a different conversation than as to the fake, yeah, sure, it's fine. Yeah, I'm just here to make everybody happy because I think that by making everybody happy, one day I'm going to get my needs met. And when they don't, I'm going to resent everybody. But really, I should resent myself because I'm lying to myself and I'm lying to everybody else in the process. Vincent, oh my God, I'm so happy you're here. I don't think you've ever been to one of my lives. Vincent is a dear friend of mine in Los Angeles. Vincent has been like a brother, and not just a brother, an angel to me. I have gone through some dark seasons with Vincent, and he has just loved me and created a safe place for me. He's such a beautiful man. I'm so grateful for you, Vincent. I just want to take this time to honor you and just say I love you and that you are one of the most precious people in my world. He was there when I totaled one of my BMWs. Oh, remember that? When I totaled the BMW, the Z4? That was a hard day. And he's also been with me on some really beautiful dreams and victories as well. William says, absolutely. When we value ourselves, others see us and can decide if they want that energy. It's so true. So, guys, here's the thing. Like most of the time, we do see the red flags. We just choose to compromise. It's not that we just blatantly ignore them. We're compromising because we're hoping to get the love that we need. We're hoping to get the love that we want. We're hoping to get the love that we desire. But let me tell you this, that momentary sacrifice that you are making, where you know this person is doing hurtful things, you know that their behavior is a red flag, that this is going to cause future major problems. If you don't address them and if you sweep them under the rug, what happens when we sweep problems under the rug? They don't go away and they create major heartbreak in the future. So if you start seeing red flags with someone, have a conversation about it immediately. Because here's the thing. Yes, there can be red flags, but sometimes here's the whole beauty of communication and is the heartbeat of my message. The heartbeat of my message is like empowering you guys to be confident and doing the things that take away from your confidence and giving you the tools to communicate. And one of the things is, if there are red flags, it doesn't mean every time you see a red flag with someone that you're always just go, oh, that person's gone, that person. Sometimes people have red flags that they're not conscious of. And sometimes it's just a conversation with them. So if you see a red flag, value yourself. Listen to this. I want you to pay attention right now. Pay attention, because this could change your life. This could save you years of heartbreak, potential therapy, potential courses that you will have to purchase in the future. This will save you time, money, and heartache right here. When you see red flags, value yourself enough to have the hard, awkward conversation and say, hey, I noticed that you did this. This is a concern for me. Can we have a conversation around that? And let them explain themselves. Let them say, ooh, yeah, you're right. Gosh, no one's ever pointed that out to me. Thank you for pointing that out to me. Yeah, now that you bring this to my attention, this is something I need to work through. Maybe I need to do this. And then watch their actions. That's another red flag. If people's words don't line up with their actions, big red flag. Did I say big? What I meant to say was big red flag. Make sure that their actions line up with their words. That's very important. That is a person's character right there. And if they don't have character, that's the backbone of relationship. They can't sustain a relationship without character. Otherwise, they'll flake on you every time. But have that conversation with them, even if it's awkward, even if it makes you uncomfortable, even this is going outside the norm for you. That one awkward conversation can save you years of your life by valuing yourself and having a voice and using your voice and speaking up and saying, this is a concern for me. This is a bit of a red flag. I want to address this with you. Can we have a conversation around it? Because that could be an opportunity for that person to go, whoa, I need to grow here and become a better person. And I guarantee you, anytime you do this with someone, they will always respect you. Always. Even the toxic person, they will deep down respect you because they're like, ooh, they saw through my BS. That person's smart. The toxic person will even go, they will never admit that to you. But deep down inside, they'll go, that one saw through my BS. Yeah, yikes. On to the next idiot is how they'll see it. A healthy person will go, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. That's hard to hear, but I need to do something about that. The toxic person, and this is where you will also save years of your life. You could save years of your life by building a healthy relationship and establishing it on using your voice and respecting yourself and your boundaries. The toxic person, when you address this is how they will respond. That's you. You told me one time about your ex-boyfriend. This is about your ex-boyfriend. Remember you told me that your dad was a bit of an a-hole? This is about him. This has nothing to do with me. When they start gaslighting you, run, 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 run for the hills, run for the hills. When they are not accountable and when they can't hear correction, this is a major red flag, and this is one that you just can't ignore. If you can't confront them, if there's no room for conflict with this person, this is not someone who has the strength. This is not a strong person. They cannot do relationship. They don't have the fortitude to do relationship. If they cannot have this sort of confrontational conversation, if they can't do conflict, they have no emotional fortitude and they have no business being in a relationship, none less with you. You know what I'm saying? So, a healthy person, they're going to hear that. It's not going to be fun for them. It's never fun for us to be corrected, but they're at least going to have ears to hear it, and they're going to have a willingness to address it. A toxic person is going to take offense to it. They're going to get angry and they're going to blame you. And they're going to have zero accountability for it. So I really hope that this supported you guys. Once again, if you're struggling, please go get that free meditation. And I also put the meditation movie with it. It's so powerful. I really want you to go and watch that right now. Go get that for yourself. But I really hope that this brought some understanding. I don't think it's enough to just say, oh, here are the red flags and you should run. No. I don't think that's enough context, which is why I broke down why we choose to, smash that like button, folks. Exactly. I agree with CT in LA. Oh, I know who CT in LA is. Hi, my darling. Thank you for being here. Yes, smash that like button. It's not enough to just go, oh, that's a red flag and I'm going to run. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that we need to have an understanding of why we permit the red flags, of why we choose to compromise, why we negate our own personal values and tolerate the things that we know are red flags. Why do we negotiate with those? I think getting that understanding really empowers us to know that what we're essentially doing is trading our sense of value, trading what we know to be right, trading for what we know to be good for us. And we trade that in for their bad behavior, hoping that one day we'll get loved. And it's like, I'm going to sacrifice loving myself by valuing myself and hoping that you will love me in the future. You already lost because you just betrayed yourself. You stopped valuing, you stopped loving yourself. You would feel more full inside if you would value yourself and hold yourself to your own standards by saying, I'm not going to tolerate this kind of behavior. By starting there, that's where you want to start. Lidal, thank you so much. She said, you are the GOAT, Arica. You put a lot of attention and care into your coaching. Thank you. I've been doing it for 14 years because I love people and I want to see people free. I want to see people loved. I want to see people empowered to love and to be loved. But it's valuing yourself. And then when you see those red flags, be conscious of them. Don't pretend that they're not there. Have a conversation around it. And then how they choose to respond to that conversation will let you know whether you need to walk away or whether this is someone that you can navigate with. Because challenges are always going to be in a relationship. It's how people navigate through the challenges that let you know whether it's a relationship to invest in or a relationship that you need to run like hell from. And I hope that that makes sense. So guys, thank you for being here. I really hope that this helped you. I'm convinced that there are many people who will watch this and it will save your life. It will save you years of heartbreak. It will save you years of partnering with limiting beliefs about yourself and your ability to receive love. Like, if you understand what to look for, you don't have to get into these bad cycles that then hurt you and convince you to think that you're unlovable. You can avoid all of that just by taking what I'm sharing with you, implementing it. But the most important part is valuing yourself. Guys, I love you so much. Know that you are lovable. Know that you are loved. Know that you have what it takes, but know that you may need to make some changes and come out of very comfortable habits that are not serving you. And that maybe you need to pivot and it's time to start changing some of these habits so that you can get the love that you are so worthy of and that you deserve. Guys, I'm grateful for you. I will see you in my next live video. You guys take care. Signing off from France. Au revoir. Merci beaucoup. À bientôt.